Hey guys, welcome to Hanging Out with Hamza. My name is Hamza. Today I have a very interesting guest that I actually just recently met, but he was so, you know, interesting and incredibly unique that I just had to have him on the show and help educate my fellow dentists and anyone who's interested in him. He's also kind of a celebrity online, so that's another thing to add to it. But with that being said, thanks for coming to hang out, and this is Hamza.
Hey y'all, this is Hamza, and I'm super happy we get to hang out for a little bit.
Hey guys, thanks for coming to hang out with Hamza. And today I have that special guest on. I wanted to go ahead and pass off the introduction to him so he can dive into why he's so unique.
All right. Wow. That is a tough one. So my name is Chris Kirkpatrick. I'm the founder of a company called Life 180. I run a YouTube channel. I do some stuff on Instagram. Ultimately, I really, I guess, built my success online, and I thank YouTube for the success of everything I have at this point in time. Honestly, like it shows the power of social media. But I built a following on YouTube, focusing on stuff that most people would think is completely boring. Like, I'm not an entertainer, I'm not a comedian, I'm not anything like that. I really focus on financial education, and I'm really passionate about helping people understand their money. I try to break it down, make it simple. And so I started this company, Life 180, really just focused on teaching people basics of personal finance, learning about different products and stuff like that. And then I started this in 2016, and it's kind of expanded and grown, and it's just gotten better and better and better. And now we have a financial agency. We have almost 500 coaches around the country that work for us or with us. It's more of a partnership than an employment, but we have that. And then I just launched a private equity fund. The fund, I'm the general partner of the fund, and we just bought this hotel, and that's where we met. And so as part of that, I figured, like, if we're going to invest in it, and I'm putting my name and reputation on the line, plus, my wife and I were looking to make a big change in our life anyway and get our kids out of the US and out of that education system and change some things up, reconnect with nature and stuff of that nature. We figured it would be really cool to come down here and oversee the project and make sure it's successful and kind of do the due diligence for the fund and all the investors. And so it's been amazing.
Okay. That's why I didn't want to do the intro here. That's basically an all-encompassing reason for why this guy's so unique. I think it's, first of all, it's fascinating that you've done this, that you've created this lifestyle for yourself. I think you do something that a lot of people say they're going to do or want to do, but they never take that leap. I think it's a scary leap to take.
Sure.
I think it's, it's very a risk-averse thing for most people, Americans in general. So
for sure.
It's admirable that you did it, even though you have all the means to do other things. Like, you have the means to live a lavish lifestyle in America, but you've decided to, just start fresh and live with nature and just really enjoy your life for the very finer qualities in terms of finer qualities not being what most people think about, which I think is really great. Like, I saw your kids, they're so well behaved. They're not your typical spoiled kids. Your wife is amazing, and just it's like you guys really put your feet down on the ground and wanted to kind of get back with just being a human being. So I have a lot of questions with that being said.
Go.
I don't even know where to start. First off, I'll start with what got you into YouTube? Like, what made you want to go that route to educate people?
Oh, wow. So it's actually an interesting story. I got into a lawsuit. I got sued. So I was I got into the financial business as a life insurance agent.
Okay.
And I became really passionate about the power of cash value life insurance and what it can do for entrepreneurs, for real estate investors, people of that nature. So as an agent, I had success. I started in the business in 2009. I had success. I grew with the company to the point where in 2014, I was the director of business development for a Fortune 1000 life insurance company and broker dealer, doing insurance, investments, and stuff of that nature. It was one of those things where I absolutely have to believe emphatically in what I'm doing, you know, and I have to know that I'm making an impact in people's lives, and that my values and beliefs are in alignment with my career, right? And so it was one of those things where the deeper I got into it, the more I realized there was a discorrelation in what I was doing versus what I thought I was doing.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a challenge. It was almost like the more I learned being a professional as a financial advisor, the more I realized, like, dude, this whole setup is kind of a scam, you know? And I just couldn't like be part of the mechanism that was system doing it. And so I wanted to go independent. And so I decided to leave, which was a wildly dangerous thing for me to do because of the fact that they kind of obviously had me under a non-compete. They had me, you know, it was all these things. And when I left, they did sue me for non-compete, breach of non-compete, even though I won in court because there was nothing really there. It's not an enforceable thing at the end of the day. But I had to give up my license. So it's a long story, but like I gave up my license and it just, when I got into this battle with them, I was driven, and it was super painful financially. Like I walked away from multi-six-figure a year job. I walked away from a big signing bonus to continue on with them because they offered me basically another promotion, and instead of taking the promotion, I quit. And so I walked away from all that, and on top of it, I got sued. It cost me a lot of money in legal fees, a lot of stress, a lot of time. If you've ever been in a big lawsuit, it's a nightmare, right? And so I won the lawsuit, and then they filed to sue me again. And I was like, damn it, man. Like, it's like, what am I going to do? So my attorney basically said, Chris, the only way you can not get sued is either shut your mouth and just sell insurance and just don't go public, or give up your licenses, and then you can run your mouth all they want because all their lawsuits are dictated on you having your license. I said, well, that's an easy answer. I'll give up my licenses and I'll just create content on this stuff. I had no idea how I was going to monetize it. I had no idea, like, whatever. And in fact, I just kind of, this is the way I am. Like, I just run with my gut most of the time. And it always works out in the long run, but short time. Sometimes in the short run, it's a lot harder, you know? And so I pulled the trigger, and I gave up my licenses proactively. I started launching the YouTube channel. It took me 3 years to monetize the YouTube channel. It was a really slow process. I ended up launching a marketing agency because I learned a lot about this stuff along the way. I used that as a way to pay the bills and like traded my time for money in that way. All the while, I just kind of kept building. And then COVID happened. And then the statute of limitations on me having my license and the lawsuit and all that stuff kind of passed. And so in 2020, at the end of 2022, I got my licenses again. And now we launched an agency, and I've got, you know,
So how old were you when this all happened initially?
I was 34 when I left and the lawsuit happened and the transition happened. It was a decade ago. It was 2014.
Very inspiring because I'm 34. So this is good to know.
Yeah.
There's hope for me then.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, again, it's like you did something that not a lot of Americans can do, which is leave the comfort of a high paying job, knowing that there's high risk involved with it. And just to give you guys background, I met Chris just at this beautiful resort I'm staying at, which is basically his. And I'm here on a dental mission trip through FIGS and through Bright Island Outreach. And I was lucky enough to hear about Chris through Jonathan, another close friend / mentor of mine. And he just hyped Chris up nonstop. But Jonathan does that to everyone. But granted, Jonathan keeps a very close-knit circle of really high-functioning, amazing human beings.
Totally.
So I had no doubt that when I met Chris, I was going to be, you know, I would vibe with him. But I was also more curious about just who he was. And so we sat and we just talked about everything from, like, you know, his journey here to, like, you know, what he wants to do ultimately, and also just how he sees finance in America and how, you know, like my belief system versus like his are very different. And that's what I thought was really great, because he was able to educate me in that 20-minute talk that I had with him more than my own financial advisors I've had in my past. So I do want to transition into that about your YouTube channel.
Mhm.
obviously it took you 3 years to monetize. Are you saying that it just was a very slow start, or you were just trying to figure out and it just wasn't picking up?
Little all the above.
Yeah.
When I started the YouTube channel, I ran pretty hard with it and filmed videos pretty consistently for say 6 months or so.
Right.
And then when I didn't get the response and the results that quickly,
Yeah.
because I kind of sucked, honestly. It's
Not
just the
easy.
way it goes,
Yeah.
right? And I was super like awkward and uncomfortable and like all these things.
Yeah.
And I didn't get the results, so I was like, okay, I need to make money,
Yeah.
right? Like, so I can't. This is not going to work. I got to figure something else out. And I did everything to make it work. I launched a marketing agency, did marketing consulting, and fell in love with that, And so, and it's funny looking back now, like I wouldn't change any of it for the world, right? Because like I've gained so many skills that now set me apart from everybody else who does what I do.
Yeah.
And so I look at it like it was all, divinely.
What kept you going with it? Like, like I feel like a lot of people after 1 year would be like, okay, maybe this is like not working out. I'll go to the next thing. After 2 years, we could feel the same. After 3 years, I
With the
think,
content,
yeah,
just I felt responsible.
yeah,
I felt like I love it, and it was one of those things. I wasn't making the content for everybody else. I was more making the content for myself as
Right.
a way for me to learn. And I always say the best way to learn is to teach.
yeah,
And I knew that I was never going to be out of the financial industry forever.
yeah,
And I wanted to stay plugged in. I wanted to stay adding value. I wanted to stick it to the man
Yeah.
a little bit, right? Like,
That's amazing.
and create content that was going to be truth instead of people getting duped by the hundreds of thousands of people misrepresenting what these products
yeah,
are, right? And so, and it's a really fine line, in what we do between how they actually work and how they're being marketed. And
right,
it's I guess what it all comes down to is I look at money a little bit differently, and what I do isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
And my perspective doesn't really resonate with everybody, but my personal view of money is that people need to align their money with their values and beliefs.
Yeah.
And the reason that we live in the most prosperous, I don't live there anymore, but in the United States, where people probably are listening to this, is think about it this way: we live in the most prosperous country in the history of the world. There's
Right.
never been more wealth, more money, more security, more conveniences, more everything, right? Yet 95% of people are hitting retirement and they're not able to maintain their standard of living.
Mm.
To me, that's the pandemic. The lack of financial understanding and financial stewardship and literacy and education and all these things. And so I just think that, the whole idea of going to school, getting a job, investing in a 401k, waiting for 40 years to be able to retire, and then ultimately you hit retirement and you're like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
And then I just am a believer, like, to me, retirement is like a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
I believe we should, rather than think about retirement planning, we should be thinking about future cash flow planning.
Right.
And if we think about it from those terms, now it's not about like, what does retirement mean? Like now I'm stopping working and I'm no longer adding any value to the world.
Yeah.
Right. So what I think is like people need to be really intentional about aligning their money with their values and beliefs, using money as a tool to accomplish the life that they want to live. And then what does that mean? Like that's different for everybody. Right.
Yeah.
But I do think if your goal is to get to 65 and then just like retire and do nothing and stop adding value to the world, I'm not the person to listen to.
Yeah.
Like
I think it's like also a health thing. Like
100%.
When you stop working at a certain age, it's pretty well known that like your health declines and your mental health and everything. Sure. And my dad still works to this day. And I think the reason he's healthy and thing is because he has like a goal, he has a challenge, he has something to do every day. And I think America is very driven towards like stopping at a certain point, and that's also why we have like such a high mortality rate, and along with other contributing factors. But I'm sure that's a big reason for it. With your 100%. YouTube channel, was there a tipping point? Like, what was the tipping point?
I had one video popped.
Yeah,
it was it was like 67 videos or something like that. It was in the 60s.
Okay.
And I had one video, and bang, that one video got me 1,000 subs.
What was the video about?
It was on how Robert Kiyosaki utilizes whole life insurance.
Okay.
In his personal finances.
That's
and
awesome.
To do the rich dad, poor dad thing.
Yeah.
Right. Because I've always been a big fan of Rich Dad Poor
Such a
Dad, the
great
book.
book, yeah.
Great book, right?
Yeah.
And so like I've always been a huge fan of that. And then I was in this mastermind with them, with the Rich Dad company.
Yeah.
And I got this email, and I've always been a fan of whole life insurance when it's utilized the right way.
Right.
And when people understand how to utilize it. And sometimes, you hear the Dave Ramseys of the world who will, preach against it, Susie Ormans of the world that preach against it. And it's just like a lack of really understanding. And, I'd always heard Robert Kiyosaki loved whole life insurance, but I'd never had any proof.
Yeah.
Right. So then I was in this mastermind, and he literally sent an email about how I use whole life insurance to increase my wealth potential with real estate. So I'm like, oh my God, the Holy Grail, it was like a big thing. So I was and I think the reason the video did well is because I wasn't getting online trying to like educate people and be smart and all these things. I was genuinely just jacked.
Yeah.
I'm like excited that I just finally like discovered this thing.
Yeah.
And I was just like, boom, like no script, a couple bullet points of like things I read in the email and whatever. And I just like ripped it. And I think the video got like 200,000 views and
That's great.
1,000 subs. And to this day, it's still one of my best videos. And boom, that popped. And as soon as that popped, it got my hours where I needed to be. It allowed me to, that one video changed everything.
So I'm not sure if you know, like the point of this podcast is, I say it's like a passion project about passions and projects, because my favorite conversations to have are with passionate people about things they're super passionate about. Because not only do you like learn so much about something in like the most unique way because the person knows everything about that one subject,
Sure,
but you also like, you see the glow in their eyes, and like you get all the most infectious enjoyment. And I'm sure that's probably why you also got those views, because like you were jacked on it and you're super passionate about it, you're super into it. And those are the best videos to watch. Like I'm a huge YouTube addict. I watch YouTube like more than Netflix, more than anything else. And it'll be the most random stuff. I'll be like, why is that Fujifilm XV1 like so famous? Like, and I'll just go on a black hole down that path. And being curious in that extent, I think YouTube is one of the greatest inventions for our modern civilization. Like the amount of things you can learn on that one thing. And like I've dated girls where they come to my place and they're like, why are you watching YouTube all the time? But it's like people to this day still don't understand the potential of it.
People like I don't think most people don't realize YouTube is the #2 search engine. They think of it as a social media site.
Right.
It's a search engine.
Yeah.
Unlike Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and all these other platforms, YouTube is a search engine, and Google owns it.
Okay. Yeah.
Google is the #1 search engine. YouTube is #2. They're both owned by Google.
Yeah.
And so therefore, whenever you get something that's rankable on YouTube, you also show up on the first page of Google.
Okay.
And so there's so much value to it. Being on YouTube has changed my business. Like I could not live the life that I live right now if it weren't for YouTube.
Amazing. Well, with that being said, I have a YouTube channel. I'm not like, like my main purpose of making this podcast was, again, kind of like you, like I made this for myself because I genuinely have been so lucky to have such amazing people in my life that I sit at, like we sat at that table and we had a conversation, and there's so many times in my life where I've been like, man, I wish I like had a recording of that conversation, because it was such a memorable thing. And like this for me was just kind of a selfish excuse to like grab my friend and be like, you're stuck with me for 1 hour.
I love it.
And we can have this amazing conversation. And so like, I wanted to have everything saved with you. So we talked about a lot of stuff that day. The one thing I was really curious about was your approach to finance. And you did mention the whole life insurance. So I brought the perspective of being a dentist to you, and like, the financial education we get is very minimum. That's a lot of self-taught things. And that self-taught thing is sometimes not even correct. Like I said, like I listen to the White Coat Investor because there's also limited resources. There are podcasts now that dentists are educating others, which is great. But for the most part, it's not like I can just like you go to dental school, you don't learn about anything. So I am curious, like, if you were to give, and this is probably asking for a lot, but you're talking to a dentist, and you want to give the best financial kind of clarity that you can. What are some myths or things you've heard that you wish you just more people knew about?
Well, I don't think it changes if I'm talking to a dentist or a doctor or a real estate investor or a regular thing. It's just align your money with your values and beliefs. And the difference with a dentist is like, especially if you own a practice. Now you're not just a dentist, you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur. And so now you have other things that you need to take into consideration. You got to, if you're working for a dentist office and you're a dentist earning a salary, well, now you're just kind of a W-2 employee, right? I don't want to say just, but you know what I mean? Like you're a W-2 employee.
Right.
And so the factors on how you plan for your future, they may change because you're not a business owner and you don't get to take advantage of certain tax breaks. And, there are fewer ways that you can maximize elements of wealth creation.
Yeah.
But you still need to align your value with your monies and belief, your money with your values and beliefs, right? And so what I believe is, let's not think about like, should I invest in mutual funds or stocks or bonds or, life insurance or whatever. I'm just a big believer we need to focus on financial structure, not going out and just investing and speculating on crypto and doing all these different things.
Right.
None of that is bad if you do it right, if you have the right financial structure.
Right.
And so I just believe that we need to build our base, and that base has to start with solid, safe, money that's guaranteed to never lose. That's, going to be your emergency fund. That can be an opportunity fund. And that way, as you build your, like any house, you build a solid foundation before you go and build anything on top of it.
Yeah.
What happens is, in the United States, I mean, I'm sure you've heard this statement, the younger you are, the more risk you can take.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Nothing could be further from the truth. If only in like personal finance now around the world, but especially in the United States, are we taught the younger we are, the more risk we can take, in the sense of, what does that mean when it comes to our money? It means the reason they say it is because more risk equals what? Higher return. That's what they say.
Yeah.
So what does more risk mean? Higher chance of losing money. So only in the
you're setting yourself up.
Yeah, we're setting increase your chance of losing money, to get a better result. That's just stupid when you really break it down.
Right.
And what I love to say is, the younger you are, the less risk you have to take, because you have time on your side.
Right.
A lot of people say Albert Einstein said the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest, right? So like, if you look at it like that, what is the greatest interrupter of compound interest? Is losses.
Right.
And so, there's all these different things that kind of come into it. And I always one of my favorite phrases is, math and money are different. You can show me math, you can show me spreadsheets, but I promise you that no matter what they're talking to you about, long-term averages and all these different things, money and life are different. Money and math are different, because life doesn't exist on a spreadsheet. Your money is not going to exist on a spreadsheet. How you handle your money from the time you get out of dental school, at what age? 28 to 30, in that range, right?
28.
Get out of dental school at 30 and you work till 65, let's say,
Right.
60.
Yeah.
You got 32 years. And so I promise you, over those 32 years, there's going to be more emotional decisions around your money than there are spreadsheet decisions,
Right. That's true.
And I think people lose sight of that. The fact that, like, you're a human being, and human beings make decisions emotionally, and then they validate those decisions with logic. That's just across the board, no matter what it is.
Right.
And so, are you structuring your money to help you live the life that you want to live? Because it's part of the journey, and it's a tool for you to do that. And the problem with the traditional way of going to school, getting a job, putting money in 401k or IRA and all these things, that putting money in accounts that you can't leverage or utilize to invest in yourself and to create that life, and you give up control until you're 59 and a half, like, there's such an opportunity cost that comes along with all that, that restricts you from being able to utilize that money as a tool to live the life you want to live. And then if you decide, oh, I made a mistake, they penalize you for accessing it too early, right? And so, I just one of my favorite things to talk about is this guy, Vincent Pacenti, wrote a book called The Ant and the Elephant. And it's all about the power of the subconscious mind. Because when we make conscious decisions, 4 million neurons a second are firing off in our brain. But our subconscious is firing off at 4 billion neurons a second. And so for you, and this is the world we live in, whether it's, I need to create a budget, or I need to lose weight, I want to become more disciplined, and like all this stuff, you really need to align your why with what you're doing, right? Like, you've got to reprogram your subconscious mind to do it. Otherwise, thinking you're just going to like create a New Year's resolution and just grit through it. It's the reason 98% of New Year's resolutions are dead in 8 days, right? Like, because of the fact that you're not aligning your why with what you're actually doing. And so it's your conscious mind trying to override your subconscious programming. And that's the equivalent of an ant sitting on the head of an elephant, thinking it's got the ability to steer the elephant.
Interesting.
It's never going to work. Right. And so if we align our money with our values and our beliefs, and we're more intentional, start with the end in mind, figure out, is my money actually being leveraged as a tool that I want to utilize it as to create the life that I want? You know, you got to reverse engineer the whole process, you know? And so I think for dentists coming back, it's like, you have all these things that you have to worry about, especially if you own a practice. You got you got your insurances and your liabilities, and you got to make sure where you put your money is protected against anything that could go poorly, right? You got to make sure that, like, it's not just about what am I earning for a return. It's like, what are the other efficiencies in my life? What are like, everybody likes to silo. Like, I got my business here, I've got my investments here, I've got, savings here, and all they silo everything out. But the reality is, it's all going to the same place when you own your own business, right? And so if I could have you invest and you earn 10%, for instance, but then, you're running your practice and you got to finance it and you're paying 15% to finance equipment or like whatever. What if we could help the efficiency of the financing of the equipment at a small reduction over here, but you have to finance that equipment. But if you could never interrupt compounding, you could leverage that more effectively. That's where the power comes in. Okay. Right. And so I just say it's all about financial efficiency, and you can't silo things off. You have to look at it as one full picture. Right. And you got to look at it like an entrepreneur, running a business, and it's all about cash flow management.
Wow. I don't even know how to respond, because like, we don't think about that stuff, because like you said, we're used to siloing things, and we're taught as dentists to silo things. Like you said, like backdoor Roth, IRA, all that stuff is like, we're taught this is how you put your money in here. Then there's stocks and there's very specific things. But you don't often think about it in a big picture kind of sense. It's more just like, okay, when I retire, I'll have the savings aside. And I brought that up with you, and you gave me advice that went against a majority of everyone else's advice. And I just think that that's also an American standard of like how our money is viewed as being like what's ideally saving money, right? So what, ultimately made you make this decision to move here? I know you said that there was like a lot of systemic things in America that you didn't agree with. If you want to talk about it, we can.
There wasn't one thing, right? It was like a lot of little things. And honestly, I'll just be really real. I've done a lot in my life. I've accomplished a lot. I've had a lot of success. I've had a lot of failures. Last year, I went to Colombia with my wife. We did an ayahuasca retreat. And it became very, very clear to me. We did 2 weeks of ayahuasca. Wow. And it became very, very clear to me that I just wasn't living my fullest life. And I felt a bit like a hypocrite. Because I had the ability to do this, and be here and live this life and at least give it a shot. We still have our house in Arizona. We can go back anytime, once we get this successful and where we want it to be. So it's not like we burned the bridge, right? Like, we could still go back. And we probably will at some point in time, but I wanted to slow things down a little bit, get rid of the noise, take a step away, and just focus on the things that are important. Being here allows me to focus on my business. There's no news, there's no TV. I can't even listen to it. You could ask me what's going on with the elections and what's going on with the primaries and I have not even seen it. I don't even know. I have no idea who's even in the presidential race right now. Like,
it doesn't affect your business at all. Do you feel like, because a lot of businesses, you kind of like look at that to understand how to prepare.
And here's the thing. I used to be that guy that was like, I need to watch. Politics are important. The president, like it's the economy, and like who gets elected is going to have all these impacts. No, it's going to happen or it's not. Like, I don't know, like if it's going to be Trump or Biden or like whoever, I don't care. It's like, I'm going to do my thing. And it's the inefficiency of worrying about it and the lost energy and just the drain that comes with staying focused on low vibration things, which politics is absolutely low vibration. It's draining, and it's not productive. It's not helping me live at my highest calling. And I really felt like my mission on this earth, and my wife and I together, our mission together has been, to help people live their best life. I've felt called to do that with money for people and help people learn how to use money as a tool to live their best life for, the past decade.
Yeah.
And I will continue to do so. But I launched a private equity fund to buy this hotel so people could invest. We're still raising money to that as well. I think we're going to build something extremely unique and special here. But we just felt called to say, all right, it's not just money. Like, I mean, you're here, you've experienced this place and the energy this place has, and it's magical.
Yeah.
Right. And so to be able to build like a healing center where people can come down for breath work and yoga retreats and, all these other types of healing type, disconnecting, reconnect with yourself, disconnect from the rest of the world type retreats.
Yeah.
That's what the world needs right now.
Yeah.
I believe.
I was hoping you would talk about it because I wanted to hype this place, but I wanted to hear it in your words because, I came to this not really knowing what to expect. I had experienced a treehouse resort before when I came with Bright Island. And so when he was like, we're not staying at that one, we're going to stay at this other hotel, I was like, I don't know if that can live up to it. Like, it's so hard to imagine.
Yeah, it's
something different. Yeah, but it did. And if anything, it exceeded it because it's like, you're right by that cove that I went to go visit, and the view is incredible from here. Obviously, you can see behind us, we're surrounded by just lush greenery, and it feels like you're in the middle of the jungle, and you feel like you're one with nature, and you genuinely, like you said, there is an energy, and there's a presence to it, and it's filled with amazing people. Like, I feel like the people who work here, the people that come to this resort, I obviously was lucky enough to have people that I know, whether it was Figs or Bright Island, but it just shows that that's the kind of community that it brings. It wants to bring people to connect and help and heal and take care of each other. And it was inspiring because after a long day of being at the clinic, a lot of mission trips, we go to a hotel, a dirty, rotten hotel in the middle of nowhere because we're helping people, in the middle of nowhere. Whereas here, it's like we get to look forward to walking back to the beautiful view, and we get to go sit by the pool and just enjoy the scenery.
And we're going to do a bonfire at the beach.
Exactly. And we get to talk to the owners of the resort. Most owners you think about resorts are snobby, rich people that are probably in another thing, and they're just renting it out or whatever. But they're here and they're hanging out with us. They're having coffee. They're having eggs with us in the morning, and they're asking us about clinic. And I think it's just a beautiful thing to see you do this. And I think this place is going to be amazing, and I can't wait to see its growth and expansion. And if you're listening to this, if you guys want more information on it, I do want to pass that on if you want to give any information.
Yeah, it's you can go to cashflowhacking.com. That's the name of the fund, and that's named after my book that I wrote on utilizing money. So you could also go to cashflowhackingbook.com and get a free copy of the book. Nice. You could buy it on Amazon for $20, or if you go there, I'll ship it to you for free. So that's a better deal. So that's what we're doing. And you hit the nail on the head. This place, it's just magical. Selfishly, it's one of my reasons I wanted to do this is I love educating people. I want to reach more people. One of the big things I want to do is collaborate more. So doing interviews like this, to me, I would have never had this interview with you. I would have never met you had I not had this place and been here and put myself in this position. Right. And so having this is an opportunity for me to get in front of amazing people that are in alignment when I talk about values and beliefs. Right. I guarantee you, we have probably a way different background, but I bet you we see the world through very, very similar lenses, right? Yeah. And we both have a lot more in common than we have not in common. Right. And so we share a lot of values, probably the values that matter the most, we probably share, right? So from that perspective, I'm surrounding myself with people that share a lot of the values and beliefs that I have. And so now I get to get on and do interviews with you. And you have, a social media platform. Some people won't. I'll get to interview them on my channel, really
spreading the love in different ways.
Yeah. And it's to me, it's a very selfish, a lot of people are like, oh man, it's great what you're doing for other people. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool. And it feels really good when you can help other people elevate. Yeah. But it's also very self-serving. The most fulfillment I get in life comes from, being able to help other people and be able to see that and have that community kind of built and galvanized. It's a lot of fun.
I mean, the only reason I feel like, after the first 20 minutes of talking to you, I was like, I need you on my podcast. And I didn't know you were famous. I didn't know you were like, I didn't know you were this big YouTuber or whatever. I just thought that you were just so interesting. And I really enjoyed our conversation. And again, like I said, our values aligned. And the only people I have on these podcasts are people that I love and care for and look up to. And our values are always in alignment in the capacity of like, we're very passionate and we love what we do. And I was really excited to have you on here just to talk about what you're doing, what you've accomplished, and also like what people can get from you. And so I do hope that, you get some extra followers and listeners on here. I'm not a huge whatever, but
no, don't ever minimize, man. You're doing awesome things. I think it's amazing. Anytime anybody needs anything from me, like I've got an amazing support team behind me in what I do. I love creating content. I love creating education. I love walking people through a process to help them reach their goals. We've got a whole program. You can go to life180.com. That's my company's Life 180. Yeah. My main umbrella company, I should say. Okay. And Life 180 is an acronym for living intentionally for excellence. Awesome. And the 180 is about turning the results in your life around.
That's
and
awesome.
Like, I just, my calling card, if you will, of why I do what I do is like, I just think I said it before, but I guess I'll end with this, is like the traditional way of retirement planning or like financial planning.
What we're taught.
What you're taught is teaching you to give up control of your money and plug along and be a drone for 40 years and hopefully you'll get there and it'll be enough.
Yeah.
And if we think about it and we just become who we need to be to live the life that we want to live, and we learn how to use the money as a tool to live the life that we want to live, then you can get there in 10 to 15 years max. And then you can create what I've created. You can create, complete financial freedom and independence so you can live life on your terms, and that's going to look different for everybody, right? But at least you're being intentional about what you're doing.
I think that's the best part of this, is seeing this, because it's like kind of like a physical proof of what you can achieve. But whereas instead of just some random YouTube nerd sitting in his room in his attic or like talking about it. That is incredible. Anything you feel like you want people to know just as a basic?
I would say this. People tend to be scared of the money conversation.
Yeah.
They tend to not want to take responsibility for their personal finances. And the idea, and I think part of the programming from the system, is that I'm just going to hire a financial advisor. They're smart enough. Like they'll make sure if I give that person money, they're going to handle it. Right. They'll get me where I need to go. And so what I talk to people about a lot is like, if you think you're coming to me for me to manage your money to get you where you want to go, I'm going to tell you that's never going to work.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to get rid of one of the most important responsibilities of your life. So I equate it to this. So I call it the 5 F's of life: faith, family, fitness, finances, and freedom. Okay. So with your faith, whatever that means to you, right? And it's different to everybody. But I do believe you have to believe in something spiritually, right? Like that's the one thing I will say. There's got to be something there, right? If you believe in a higher power of any nature, like are you capable? Can you outsource your success with your faith? Like you have to do the work. You have to, do your prayers, do your meditations, do your intentions, read the Bible, like comes down to whatever it is for you, right? That's on you. With your family, like I'm married and I've got 3 kids. Can I outsource the success with my marriage and have somebody else do my work to make my marriage good or be good with my kids and be a good father? No, I have to become who I need to be to make those thrive. Otherwise, divorce. Otherwise, estranged relationships. With my fitness, is my personal trainer going to do my push-ups and go to the gym and do eat healthy and, just no, that's on me. If I don't do the work, I'm going to be obese and I'm going to be unhealthy and probably develop sicknesses and die early. When it comes to our money, I would say all of these things, our money, it is one of those things where we've been taught that we need to give to somebody else, but It's no different than any of the areas that I've talked about. And at the end of the day, what are we trying to do? We're trying to hit retirement, which is freedom, right? Financial freedom, financial independence.
Yeah.
But is there freedom without good spiritual, like comfort in your faith, in your beliefs?
Yeah.
No. Is there freedom without good relationships in your family? No. Is there freedom without good health? No. Can you have freedom without having financial freedom? No. So the only area that we've somehow been tricked into giving up control of our life and thinking that you're not smart enough to handle is with your money. So I would encourage every single person to just realize that you are where you are with your money because of who you are right now. But the great news about that is that's not where you need to be moving forward. And if you take small little steps and you learn little basic things, you can make just gigantic leaps forward. You know, whether you feel like you're buried in debt, whether you feel like your credit sucks, whether you think like whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like
it all just comes down to taking accountability.
Yeah.
And
it's no different than any other area in life. You got to just become who you need to be to live the life that you want to live.
Right. I can see why your YouTube is successful.
Thank you.
I'm really, you know, I barely know you, but I'm proud to know you, and I'm like excited to see where our relationship goes going forward.
Yeah.
And if you guys really enjoyed this, and if you really got a lot from him, please follow him on YouTube. Follow his financial, educational input, and just, you know, if you need to get any other information from him, he sounds like he's somebody who just is more than happy to help.
Totally available.
And
there's always a link in every YouTube video.
Yeah. And if you guys want to come visit this incredible location, feel free to come check it out. It's in the Dominican Republic, and it is breathtaking, and I highly recommend it. Like I said, we're going to go hang out at the beach later on today, and you'll probably see pictures at some point. So the proof is going to be in the pudding later on. But
awesome.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you.
It was an honor. It was amazing.
So
love it, Ron.
So thankful to have you, dude.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for hanging out with Hamza. And yeah, I'll leave all the information for how you can follow him. Do you want to just let them know your YouTube and all the other info?
So you can follow me on YouTube. It's at Life180 on YouTube, at Real Chris Kirkpatrick on Instagram and TikTok, even though I'm trying to not do TikTok very much anymore.
Good choice. Yeah.
I've kind of stopped doing TikTok. I actually uninstalled it from my phone.
Okay. I was like, so now you're actually off the grid.
But exactly. Like TikTok, I have a lot of followers, but I just like cut it because I was like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's just outside of alignment with my values. Right. So I just said, okay, I'm done. I'm actually that was part of my move, like just align that.
Yeah.
But I would say YouTube and Instagram are the best places to follow me. And if you have any questions, you can email chris@life180.com.
Okay.
It's my personal email address. I don't outsource it. I don't have an assistant do my emails. I'm there. And if you comment on YouTube, my wife always kids around and says the fastest way to get a response from me is to comment on YouTube, because I respond to every comment personally on YouTube, and I'm obsessed with it.
That's awesome. I love your passion about it. I'm so glad I got you on here, because you basically are the epitome of what this podcast is about. I will add those YouTube links in there. I'll also add the Amazon link for his book.
Amazing.
I do want you guys to support him. I mean, he said he's happy to send you stuff, but like, I think we should always support people who do things like this. So, again, thanks for coming on in, and thanks for hanging out with Hamza. All right, take care, guys.